Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to my channel. Today we are creating Moana as a Pokemon trainer. This was a suggestion and thank you so much for the suggestion. This is a really easy choice for me, and a lot of the Pokemon that I've chosen for today's video I feel like are super obvious, so this wasn't one that I had to really think about too much, just because Moana and her story overall, there's a really large overarching theme, there's a lot of nature references, there are a lot of animal characters in the movie, so it's really easy for me to take some of those characters out and just replace them with Pokemon, and it all seems to kind of naturally flow and fit together in that way. So that being said, the first Pokemon I've chosen for today's video is Lapras, and I feel like Lapras is such an obvious choice because so much of Moana's story has to do with her being a voyager, her dealing with traversing the seas, and her people being afraid of doing so, and basically the entire storyline revolving around that. I felt like it was really natural for her to have a Pokemon that she could easily go across the water with, and Lapras is the obvious choice. It's shown in the TV show as being like one of the biggest forms of transportation across the water besides a boat, and other than the fact that we don't have like a dedicated boat Pokemon, which would be a little bit weird, he is as close as you're going to get. Moving on to the next one, I have chosen Torchic. So Torchic might seem like a really strange choice right off the bat, but I feel like you need to have one that represents Hei. Hei was the highlight of the movie for me, literally my very favorite part of the entire story. Every scene he was in, I thought he was so funny, and Hei is a rooster, so I wanted to have a rooster or a chick or some kind of a chicken Pokemon, and Torchic is the obvious choice yet again, it being baby, it being a little bit younger, and I actually saw some kind of funny fan art where people had turned Torchic into looking like Hei, and I just thought that it was a really funny idea. So that is choice number 2. So for the third one in her party, I have chosen Spoink, which again is a super obvious reference to Pua, her like animal counterpart in the movie. Every Disney princess has that one animal character that is like their best friend, and Pua seems to be Moana's. So I wanted to have a pig Pokemon. There were a couple of different choices, but overall I feel like Spoink really has that fun, goofy, playful aesthetic versus some of the other ones that maybe seemed a little bit more intense and didn't really remind me too much of Pua, but I think that Spoink is fun and playful and reminds me of his character in the movie so much. Moving on to my fourth choice, I picked Kyogre. So a lot of these videos I've included at least one legendary Pokemon, and that's just because I think that all of these characters are such strong people and such strong characters that I feel like it just makes sense for them to have one really big banger Pokemon. And for Moana, I felt like Kyogre was such an obvious choice. Kyogre has a lot of lore behind it, and it has a lot to do with the water, with the ocean, and I believe with like the creation of the water in the Pokemon universe or something in reference to that. So when you are looking for a Pokemon that represents like a water god, Kyogre is as close as you're going to get, and a lot of the movie does have to do with the water and with her not necessarily manipulating the water, but dealing with her spirits and relatives and the lore behind that, and them maybe helping her along the way with the water. So Kyogre just seems like a super natural choice. Number 5, I picked Mantine. Again, this was a really obvious choice. One of the biggest characters in the movie is Moana's grandmother, who obviously passes away right at the beginning and kind of starts the train of events that go on in the movie. But there's a scene where she is by the water and she is hanging out with either stingrays or manatees, and she says, "When I come back, I'm going to be reincarnated into one of these," in reference to the stingrays. and she does come back later in the movie as, I'm not actually sure if it is a stingray or a manatee, but either way, I feel like Mantine would make a really great representation for Moana's grandmother, which is such a huge part of the story and such a huge part of her character. So I feel like she would definitely have a Pokemon that reminded her of her grandmother, and Mantine is the best choice. And then finally, I really wanted Moana to have a Pokemon that represented her people. And so much of the story has to do with water that I almost wanted her to have one in reference to land, and more importantly, her people, who seem so important to her, and she's doing everything that she does in the movie for them. And I like the idea of using a grass type Pokemon to represent her people. And one of the funniest and most obvious choices, I feel like, is a Alolan Executor. One, because it's a palm tree, and I really like that it has the 3 coconuts or egg faces on it in reference to like multiple people being her people, her tribe, all of the people that she's trying to protect in the movie. And also the fact that it is a tree, which trees are stationary, you find them on land, they don't really go anywhere, and I just felt like that all kind of philosophically tied in to the overall theme of Moana trying to be progressive and trying to get her people into the future, and them being very stationary and set in their ways in a really funny way. So those are the 6 Pokemon that I have chosen for Moana. Let me know in the comment section down below who you would choose for her if you had to pick 6 Pokemon. And don't forget to check out some of the other Disney characters as Pokemon trainers if you'd like to. The playlist will be linked at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post, and I will talk to you all in the next one.